Hey, morning everybody. Yeah, I've got about 62 minutes to go before I start work. And no, I wasn't dropped off by my bus this morning. I was actually dropped off by my mom due to the fact that financially I don't have no fare for the bus except for 5 cents on a change card. Anyway, hopefully that'll be rectified by next week. Not by next week, but by this week it'll be rectified. But I wanted to come out here and talk about something. You know, one of the things that people have talked about a lot over the past few days when it comes to the Big Four, when it comes to the WWE's WrestleMania of the summer, SummerSlam, one thing a lot of people talk about is the fact that the kickoff show, we all know that with the kickoff show, whether it's an in-your-house pay-per-view event, like let's say No Mercy or Clash of Champions or whatever, or it's a Big Four like SummerSlam, we always know you're going to get 1, 2, 3, maybe 4 matches on the pre-show. And usually we know that these matches are done in a semi-filled arena. Basically fans still filing in, but still very semi-filled. Basically more presentable. But one of the things that fans talked about this past week, and we're not just talking fans, we're talking, guys like Don Tony and Kevin Castle, the Sala Monster. I'm pretty sure Pro Wrestling Report with Damian Nelson and David Hill talked about this. We're talking Dave Meltzer, we're talking Brian Alvarez, we're talking Bill Apter. And of course, like I said, we're talking fans like, internet fans like, the Select Daddy at OTRS Central. The Lex Man at the Lex Man's World. Chase Oliver, among many. And they have basically all have given their opinions on what took place on the kickoff show. Because, like I said, usually the first couple matches that take place there before the official card begins are usually in front of a semi-decent crowd. Not this time. Not this time. Because you see what happened is that, in my opinion, from what I've understood, there had to be some kind of miscommunication on both ends. The reason I say there must have been a miscommunication on both ends, I'm trying to work something out here, there we go. But the reason I say there must have been a miscommunication on both ends is because the Barclays Center, it's because, usually a venue opens up 30 minutes, maybe an hour, 30 minutes before the actual event begins. Sometimes they open up 2 hours or an hour and a half before the actual event begins, so that way people can find their seats, they can get something at the concession stand, maybe a beer, like something like a beer, corn dogs, popcorn, you name it. Usually they open up in plenty of time for people to find their seats, get some items from the concession stand, maybe from the merchandise area, and then go back to the seats and get ready to enjoy the event, knowing they're not going to miss much. But something had to happen on both ends of the spectrum between Barclays Center and WWE. Because what happened was, we don't know who's really at fault. Whether it's somebody in WWE who mismanaged their time, or it was Barclays Center who mismanaged their time. But what happened was WWE ended up having one of the kickoff matches in front of a near empty arena. That's right. Basically, the 6-man tag that was added at the last minute from the Raw side of things, which featured Jason Jordan, the Hardys, and Miz, and the Miztourage, Bo Dallas, and Curtis Axel, was performed in front of a nearly empty arena. Basically, it was being done just as people were coming into the building. And a lot of people criticized WWE and even the Barclays Center for mismanaging the time and having some kind of miscommunication. Now from what I've understood, from what I've heard, this is not going to fall so much on the Barclays Center. It's going to fall more on WWE, because WWE was the one that had rented out the facility. They're the ones that rented out the facility for SummerSlam. They're the ones that, in the minds of many, are the be-all, end-all when it comes to being responsible, when it comes to timing, when it comes to the timing of their events. Now, again, I don't know if there was a miscommunication on both ends, but something had to happen, because apparently even The Miz, and I think the Hardys, and the Miz Taraj, basically from what I understand, is all 6 participants, and mostly The Miz, were very vocal about what happened here. They were very vocal about what occurred. They were not happy about the fact that their 6-man tag team match was taking place in front of a nearly empty arena. A lot of people compared it to basically an indie show in a small venue, or one of the up-and-coming indie shows, or one of the small to mid-sized indie promotions that at times will rent out venues that will only seat about 50 to 100 people, or even some of the smaller indie feds that will rent out a facility that will sit to 20 to 50 people. And to hear people make that comparison from, like I said, people like Brian Alvarez, to Dave Meltzer, to Bill Apter, to maybe even some legends and Hall of Famers that have worked with this company, to have them make this comparison, it doesn't look so well on WWE's part. Now, again, like I said, Barclays Center can hold some of the blame as well, and that's true, because there had to be, in my opinion, a miscommunication between both sides. How can one side take the blame for a show starting, for not a show, but for the doors to an event opening just as you're getting said event kicked off with matches? Huh? How can one take the blame over the other? Both have to share the blame. And like I said, both have to share the blame. And when one looks at it from that perspective, if one has to admit that even though WWE makes a lot of bad decisions, that this is one decision that, even though it was bad for them to make, they don't share the total blame for. They can't. They can't share the total blame for having one of their matches, one of the kickoff show matches, be seen in front of a nearly empty arena, and then followed up by a championship match for the Cruiserweight title, which was also being done in front of a nearly, well, not so empty arena, but still an arena that looked like basically it was an independent show taking, basically looked like it was an independent show taking place in front of a mega venue. It's kind of like, and I hate to say this about All Pro Wrestling, APW, because they have produced some great stars from the company that have been on WWE, that have been in WWE. But here's the thing. APW did a show at the Cow Palace, a legendary venue in San Francisco. Now, the Cow Palace has played host to many events, many wrestling events from WCW, NWA, WWE, and even some pay-per-views like Super Brawl, and I think even paid, and even a couple of WWE events, pay-per-view events. I'm not really sure, but I know they played host to some of these. They have played host to some of these, and every time they've played host, they've practically filled out the building, if not nearly sold it out, which is pretty good, if not completely sold it out. But when I looked at the video footage that Brian Zane had produced of his 6-man match that he had at the Cow Palace Royale event for APW, let's just say when people talk about WWE being embarrassed by what they did on the SummerSlam kickoff show with those matches, you can do a comparison here, because basically Cow Palace wasn't completely sold out. It wasn't. Basically what you saw, if you go back and you look at that footage, and you can find it on Wrestling with Gret's YouTube channel, you go back and look at that footage, and you will see exactly what I'm talking about. The fact that it wasn't a complete sellout. It was in front of a semi-decent crowd, but pretty much it was similar to what you saw, to what people would compare to what happened at SummerSlam. But then again, some people might say APW did a better job by having with our attendance compared to WWE. And that might be true when it comes to the kickoff show deal. But again, like I said, can we really blame WWE for this? I mean, like I said, there's a lot of decisions WWE makes that none of us are going to agree upon. None of us are going to like. And quite frankly, some of us downright despise. And them not communicating with the Barclays Center about, oh, well, we got this match going on at this time, you might want to open the doors before then. Yeah, it's on them. But the Barclays Center not communicating with them and asking when they should open the doors, that's on the Barclays Center. And what that's going to do is it's going to put the Barclays Center in question when it comes to other non-basketball hockey events. Or, people are going to want to know, should we hold concerts there? Should we hold, ice shows, whatever? Should we hold them at this venue if they're not going to open the doors on time? You see, that's going to put the Barclays Center in question. Now, some people have said that hopefully they've learned a lesson the next night, or in the past 2 nights, they've learned a lesson to make sure timing is correct and there is communication. But even with that, the point I'm getting at is, even with that, you can't put the entire blame on WWE in this case. Yes, they share the blame, but not all of it. Because quite frankly, it was a miscommunication on both ends. Now, with that said, let's take a look at another decision that WWE is doing. And this is something that Jeff Siegel has brought up in a video. WWE's mistreatment of Enzo Amore. Ever since Enzo and Big Cass were broken up, a little over a year after they were brought up as a tag team, they have both been, I guess you can say, struggling. Both have been behind the scenes in hot water for some things they would do or talk about or mention on Twitter or social media. Some things that they would be, in support of or not support of. So behind the scenes they haven't been doing so well. But the reason apparently for this breakup was to basically push Big Cass as a massive heel, as a massive single star from the heel perspective. And a lot of people, from Jeff Siegel, who did a video on it, from Deluxe Man, to a lot of people have come out in the business, fans of the business, you name it. They have all come out and basically said that WWE made a mistake by breaking these two up. That it would have been better to turn the team heel instead of breaking them up. And hey, if you wanted to turn the team heel, you could have had Enzo transition to being could have had Enzo transition to being a manager for Cass instead of just being an in-ring competitor. But look what's happened. Look what's occurred because of that. You've had numerous squash matches between the two where Cass has basically squashed Enzo on pay-per-view and on Raw. You've had him beat the Big Show, which basically is like a passing of the torch, if you will. You know, you had him beat Big Show, and then you have him do another match with Enzo, a street fight, and what happens because of that? Cass ends up injuring his leg, to the point that now he's going to miss up to nearly 9 months of action, and his push has to be put on hold. And what do you do with Enzo? Well, a lot of people projected that this would be where he would end up, even after the feud was done. Where do you put him? You put him on 205 to be the next challenger to Neville. To be the one you're probably going to put the Cruiserweight Championship on. Okay. Enzo being on 205 right, 205. Enzo being on 205 live might be a positive. If, you know, because at least you don't have to deal with him for 2 hours. Well, how do I put this? Enzo being on 205 live is a positive for him because it's probably going to help him get better at what he does, and maybe it might help him kind of realize, hey, you know, I need to, you know, keep my mouth shut on certain things. But we'll have to wait and see. But again, you put him on 205 live immediately after Cass is injured. And do you think Enzo is happy about this? Do you think Colin Cassidy is happy about this? Oh, heck no. They are not happy about this. Do you think Carmella, who's supposed to be cashing in, is happy her boyfriend is out with an injury? Oh, heck no. She's not happy. She never has been happy. She probably won't be happy about that. Which is probably going to delay her cash-in of the freaking briefcase. So, this all comes as a result of WWE deciding to break up this tag team because Vince McMahon goes like, yes, there's Big Cass, there's my next Diesel, it'll be just like the new generation all over again. It's good to be back in the 90s. Just because Vince sees something like that in Cass, he wanted to break up this tag team. Newsflash for Vince McMahon. Does he not remember that Shawn Michaels, that Diesel got over as a massive heel, soon to become babyface, along with Shawn Michaels at his side? Did he not remember that? Because I do. I remember that. So, again, why not just turn the tag team heel, transition Enzo into sort of a tag team in-ring competitor / manager that stood alongside Cass like he did temporarily with Shawn Michaels for Diesel? It would have made more sense. But nope, they decide, we'll break them up because we don't like Enzo, and now we'll put Enzo on 205, which might, like I said, might be a positive for Enzo. It might be a positive. But then again, knowing WWE, they might just have him job to Neville. And again, what was the point of using the shark cage? It doesn't make any sense. The shark cage, from what I remember, is supposed to be used to take the heel portion, to take heelish managers or tag team partners and put them out of the equation. It's supposed to do that. But here it didn't. But here at SummerSlam that wasn't the case, because instead you take a babyface who legitimately is afraid of heights You put him in a shark cage, not that high up, but just high enough, because you want to rib him? I don't get it. You know, I really don't get what WWE is thinking sometimes. You want to rib Enzo because he rubs you the wrong way. He's afraid of heights, and you want to teach him a lesson. It doesn't make any sense. And then you get mad at him for being who he is outside of the ring, outside of the WWE, just as he is in WWE. You get upset at him for being who he is outside, for being his true self. Hold on for a sec. Like I said, you get upset at him for being his true self, for speaking his mind outside of WWE. You get upset at the guy that basically you plan to push before his injury because things... Hold on. Like I said, you get angry with the guy and you also get angry with the guy you're planning to push because he has certain viewpoints that he supports and doesn't support. And you get mad at them for being vocal on social media like Twitter and Facebook and Instagram about this. And yet it doesn't occur to you that maybe you should take your talent aside during one of your live events, live house shows or whatever. Take them aside on both brands separately and put them in like little conferences or classes to attend about social media and kind of teach them about and kind of show them and teach them what they can say and what they can't say while they're part of WWE. You know, it doesn't occur to you to maybe do that so that at least you can avoid problems like this. I think that would be the smart thing to do. But apparently WWE doesn't do that. WWE doesn't do smart stuff, if you catch my drift. I don't understand. But to me, it would be a smart thing to do. I mean, my job here would probably do it if it ever came to that point. There's no doubt about it. UFC would probably do it. Bellator would probably do it. GFW, Global Force Wrestling, as much as people may not like to admit it, may end up doing it. You know, it's the smart decision to make. We, the talent, may like it or not like it. It's the smart thing to do, so at least you can say, hey, you could still, you know, say what you know, it's like, basically you can create a balance. And that balance is, hey, you could still, you know, say what you want to say at times or show what you're doing at times on social media, but you can't say certain things. You can't mention certain things. Like, you could tell people, hey, it's great to be here in Madrid, or it's great to be here in San Jose, but you can't mention anything like, oh, well, this is why, you know, let me give my 2 cents on the whole Trump thing, or the whole da-da-da thing. No, you can't do that, as long as you're part of WWE, because you got to be a better representation. So, hopefully, WWE may open their eyes and realize, hey, if we don't want this kind of crap to happen again, let's hold some classes at the Performance Center and at some of the live events, before some of the live events take place at the venues we're going to be at, and just go and see what happens. Because I think if they can do that, hold some classes, and at least kind of show the WWE talent that, hey, this is what you can do and can't do while you're under the banner of WWE, then I think it might work in their favor. Because I think even someone like Enzo Amore will listen in and be like, you know what? He'll be like, you know what? I get it now. I understand. You know, he may not be a fan, but if he wants to be part of WWE, you know, he may not be a fan of, oh, I can't really say this while I'm part of this company, then that's fine. You know, if that's what WWE needs to do, that's what they need to do. You know, people like Enzo and Cass, and hey, they're not the only ones. Lana, Rusev, Tamina, you know, Randy, you know, a lot of people can benefit. A lot of the superstars, men and women, can benefit from this. They really could. You know, and it's not a punishment. It's just to show them, hey, this is what you can and can't do. It's kind of like at a job. You know, they tell me at this job, you know, they give us little CBLs, little video lessons and all that to learn, or to watch and learn, and some of them about what you can and cannot wear. You know what I'm saying? It's like, you can't wear jeans 24/7. You can't, sometimes there are things like you can't wear jeans 24/7. Or you can't do this. Or you can't wear this or that. Yeah, unless specified. Unless specified. You know, so it gives you all these so basically they take the time to let you know what you can and can't do, so that it doesn't hurt you and it doesn't hurt the company. So I think if WWE, like I said, did something like, you know, took guys like Enzo and, you know, took the superstars aside at live events and at the Performance Center and taught them about what they can and what they can say on social media and what they can't say as long as they're under the banner, then I think it'll be worth a while. So that's all I have to say about that. Now, one last thing I want to talk about. The Superstar shakeup. Well, actually, two other things I want to talk about. The Superstar shakeup and the supposed ROH stable that's now formed or is forming in NXT. The Superstar shakeup that's supposed to be coming will be interesting. We already had the we already had the SmackDown Live debut of Bobby Roode. A lot of people were happy about that. A lot of people expected Bobby Roode to be on SmackDown, alongside the fact that we saw the return of Shelton Benjamin. Now, some people may question as to why Bobby debuted as a face, but let's not forget he did that in NXT, and not shortly afterwards he went to being a heel. The same thing I think is going to happen here. Although right now it seems SmackDown is very, how do I put it, heel heavy in some areas. Making Bobby a face right now might be the best thing, but I don't think it's going to last. I think by the end of the next SmackDown Live pay-per-view, or even before that, we might see a heel turn. But like I said, it could be before or most likely afterwards. Because if Bobby Roode is supposed to get this main event push, then I think the most likely start area for him would be AJ Styles. But then again, it looks like they're going to put AJ against Baron Corbin, but we'll have to wait and see. I think the logical choice is for Bobby Roode to get that spot, according to reports. So we'll have to see what they do there, but again, I don't think the Bobby Roode face turn is going to last very long. As far as Shelton Benjamin teaming up with Chad Gable, that's just going to set us up for a Benjamin Gable feud. Why? Because even though Benjamin is happy to be back and looks like he's okay, with teaming with with Chad Gable, you kind of see that the heel turn's coming next week. You kind of see that. So if I'm wrong, I'm wrong, but we'll have to wait and see what happens. As far as other stars that could be coming to the main rosters, be switching brands doing this Superstar shakeup, you know, a lot of people feel that SmackDown needs to benefit by getting a lot of stars that they lost back. You know, some would be saying, well, they could benefit by getting The Miz back. Some say they can benefit by getting Samoa Joe. And that might be true. Might be very true. But we don't know that yet. We don't know exactly who they're going to, send from what brands to another. Some might say that SmackDown can benefit from someone like an Aleister Black. And that might be true. But then again, so can Raw. Because he'd be like basically a special attraction that, you would see weekly. But it'd basically be like He'd be basically the main roster version of Goldberg. It's like, who can beat this guy? You know, who do they got next to face him? You know, all this could be brought into play, but here's how I look at when it comes to the shakeup. I look at the fact that, as we saw on SmackDown can definitely benefit more so from the NXT call-ups they get with the shakeup. They could benefit from the Authors of Pain being on the show. They can benefit, like I say, from the Authors of Pain being on the program. They can benefit from someone like an Aleister Black being on the program. They could really benefit from that. You know, they can benefit from those kind of stars. They can benefit from someone, well, let's say, perhaps a Velveteen Dream. But then again, he might end up on Raw so he can be on 205. Just saying. But they could benefit from someone like a Velveteen Dream. You know, they could benefit from someone like a Hideo Itami. You know, they can benefit from a lot of these guys. Roderick Strong is a good one that they can benefit from. Although rumors are he's going to be part of this ROH stable. But we'll have to wait and see. To me, they can benefit more from the NXT Superstar shakeup, or from the NXT stars being brought up during the Superstar shakeup, than anybody else. As far as Raw goes, they can benefit too from the Superstar shakeup, but who do they need? Right? Who would they need? Like I said, they could still get Aleister Black, and they can get the Authors of Pain, but I don't really think they need anybody. I think if you're going to give them anybody, I think right now, you've done what you can with Baron Corbin on SmackDown, and pretty much it looks like, from last night, it looks like he could be done with SmackDown. So I would put Baron Corbin on Raw. I would send Baron Corbin to Raw. I would send Baron Corbin to Raw. I would send the Singh brothers to Raw, because that way you would get rid of that whole stable with them and Jinder. I would send them to Raw. As crazy as it sounds, I would send them to Raw. Who else could you send? You can send... interesting. You see, you don't know who Raw could really benefit from, because they have just about all they can use, right? But those are the only ones I think of. The Singh brothers, Baron Corbin, I think could really benefit from being on Raw. I really do. SmackDown, if it comes to anybody going back to SmackDown, because a lot of people say SmackDown needs the talent more so than anyone, which is why I suggested the Authors of Pain and Aleister Black and Roderick Strong to be, and Hideo Itami to be the ones to show up there. But I think from the Raw perspective, I think they could definitely benefit from some talent coming from Raw. I really do. I think if anything, hold on for a second. Like I said, I think if anything, what the people they can get from Raw would be very beneficial. Like I said, I think if they can get The Miz or Samoa Joe, maybe both at the same time, that'd be great. That'd be tremendous. But again, if you're teasing Joe and Cena maybe down the line before the year's out, that'd be good too. The point I'm getting at is Raw has a plethora of stars. Heck, you can send a Hardys. You can send a Hardys to SmackDown, and that might benefit them. That might benefit them more so than being on Raw right now. They could, I mean, SmackDown can definitely use an influx of new tag team blood. You could send Gallows and Anderson there, and that would help. Finn Balor would be a good addition. You know, you could send him as well. And imagine what you could get with Finn Balor against AJ, maybe. That would be good. Again, the club, teams like the club and the Hardys could definitely benefit from a move from Raw to SmackDown, because they could definitely use an injection of a revitalization in atmosphere. It could help them. I really do. I really think it could help them. When the Revival come back, maybe you could send a Revival to SmackDown. Now you might say, well, you're taking a lot of the tag teams away from Raw. Not necessarily. Because like I said, they could create tag teams. They could bring up tag teams. I mean, we haven't seen Blake and Murphy for a while. You know, they can bring them up. But like I said, as far as getting talent from Raw to SmackDown, just to kind of give them a new breath of fresh air, I think guys like the Hardys, I think Finn Balor, Gallows and Anderson, I think those 6 can really benefit from a change in atmosphere thanks to the Superstar shakeup. I really do. I really think they could benefit from it. You might not think so, but I think they could. I really do. Because when I look at those tag teams and those stars, I think it could work. I really do. And you know what? It might open the door, if WWE is so persistent, or the Hardys are persistent of it, to get that broken or that awoken thing going. And SmackDown might be the better option for them to do it at. I'm just saying. Now, as far as the NXT or ROH stable goes, now I mentioned the possibility that Roderick Strong could be part of this. And he still could be. He still could be part of this. Don't get me wrong, I got 24 minutes to go. But don't get me wrong, he could still be part of this. But I think, in all honesty, not only do I think he could still be part of it, I think he could benefit from it if he doesn't get called up to the main roster. But when I look at this, I look at the fact that for them to put this stable together, and for them to already indicate that this stable is going to be put into championship storylines, if not freaking given the championships upon the first attempts or second attempts, I think it's going to be beneficial, because at least you're subtly referencing the other company that they made names for themselves in. You can give them you can give them a name like Team Honor or the Honor Club or whatever you want to call them. Or the Club of Honor, or like I said, whatever you want to call them. You can give them some kind of name that will at least reference where they came from, where they made names for themselves. Heck, you want to add Nigel McGuinness in, not only as the spokesman, but basically like the color commentator or the voice on the commentary voice for that team, for that group, as well as the spokesman. You could do that too. It would work, and I think it'd be a good decision for WWE to at least go in that direction, to where, just like, as much as I hate to say it, just like TNA had Taz representing Aces and Eights on commentary, as well as you had, let's go back to Paul Heyman representing the Alliance on commentary, it would work by having Nigel representing the Honor Club, or whatever you're going to call them, the ROH stable, on commentary. Basically, in a work shoot kind of commentating, bash the WWE for basically bashing the WWE, mostly NXT, for being nothing more than a carbon copy. Hold on for a sec. kind of bash WWE, mostly NXT, for being a carbon copy of Ring of Honor. You could do that. And then if your plan down the line in short term is to bring up the red, Adam Cole and Red Dragon, Kyle O'Reilly and Bobby Fish to the main roster, either SmackDown or Raw, you can continue that trend. Like I said, you can continue hold on. Like I said, you can continue that trend if you want to do that. You could bring these guys to the main roster as a group, and it would work. If you're going to fast pace them to the main roster, which a lot of people would hope they wouldn't, you could basically take them to the next, which hopefully, like I said, hopefully people are hoping they don't do, but you could fast track them to that main roster spot, and it would work, and people would eat it up. They would eat it up like it was nothing. They would eat it up like it was nothing. Like I said, they would eat it up like it was nothing. They would get a kick out of it. They would enjoy it. They'd be all over this group. If you brought them fast tracked into the main roster, and like I said, you can continue them being a group, a club, a group of outsiders, if you will, that want to take down WWE, because WWE is essentially, in their minds, becoming a carbon copy of where they came from. Like I said, hopefully they don't fast track Adam Cole and Red Dragon, which a lot of people are hoping they don't, but it would make sense to keep them as a group. I'm sorry for the distractions here. I'm just looking around. A lot of people just coming out of nowhere. But like I said, it would make sense to keep them as a faction, keep them as a group, even when you bring them up to the main roster. And like I said, the way you could make this group work is you could have someone like Nigel be the spokesman, and be that spokesman not just in the ring for promos, but be the spokesman on commentary. Well, like I said, in a work-shoot environment, a work-shoot style, you can have him bash NXT for being a Ring of Honor ripoff, or being a carbon copy of the company they were once part of. You could have Nigel do a work shoot on commentary where he can mention that NXT and WWE overall can't really do anything on their own. They can't create stuff on their own. They always got to depend on guys like, Adam Cole and Red Dragon from, of the Arna Club, where they made their names elsewhere to help them, get over, as a whole, or as a brand, or as a company. It would work, because at least, even in storyline, you have someone calling out and saying the things that we've all been saying about WWE. How we feel about them, how they're being this, how they're copying that, and stuff like that. It could work. And like I said, you could bring that to the main roster later on, and maybe even recruit someone like, say, a Byron Saxton to be the voice for the club, for this ROH team on the main roster, or a Corey Graves. So that way they can vocalize the same thing. Or we bring Nigel up with them, and he can represent them on commentary when they perform. Again, it could work. Despite whether you're doing 3 or 4, it could work. And I don't think anybody would disagree with that. So, let me know what you guys think, though. Let me know what you guys think about that thought. And thank you for watching this whole thing of basically my thoughts on the current state of WWE, the decisions they make, the decisions they've been making, the situation with Enzo and Cass and stuff. Let me know what you guys think. Comment down below, and I'll talk to you later.